All right, let's talk about the Midnight Beta. More specifically, the class simplification, nameplates, the cooldown manager, the boss timers, and of course the raid frames. So this is going to be an unscripted video, but I'm going to try not to go on a big rant. Chapters will be down below. Let's start off with the class simplification. So if you aren't keeping up with what's going on in the Midnight Beta, a lot of the classes are being reworked, causing the simplification of those classes, which basically results in less keybinds. So we're going to take a look at 3 different classes. That way you can kind of get a general idea of what's going on if you're not playing. We're going to do Blood DK, we're going to do Unholy DK, and we're going to do Resto Shaman, because those are the 3 that I play. So we'll throw it up on the screen here, and on the left I will have the retail settings, and on the right I will have beta. And what you're going to look at on this screenshot is my action bars for both of these games. That way we can just easily compare them. I've tried to set them up one for one. That way you can see for sure what exactly has changed and what is missing. So starting with the Blood DK, you can see there is at least 1, 2, 3, 4 spots on the beta that are no longer being used. And if you compare that to the retail side, arguably the only one is the Health Stone, which could be replaced. But I will make a note too that the top left icon is actually a macro with 3 different abilities inside. So this just gives you a general idea that, you know, in terms of like a Blood DK, you're losing out of 3 buttons. And I will say, just from my playtime where I've been running some dungeons and stuff on my Blood DK, I actually like the changes that they've made. It feels a lot more enjoyable to play, and I don't have to worry about like the tombstone and all that stuff anymore. I very much like the changes that they've done. All right, next up is the Unholy DK. So again, on the left is retail, and on the right is the beta. And you can see there is at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keybinds that are free. So I haven't done any dungeon runs as an Unholy, but I have messed around with like the target dummy and stuff, and it feels okay. I'll know a little bit more once I play the dungeons. It feels okay, like I said. And I'm all for like the simplification that's happening. I like having less buttons to deal with personally. So let's look at the final one, which is the Resto Shaman. Now, this is by far the biggest change, and the one that I'm going to talk about just a little bit here. So healers are getting gutted kind of across the board. I think there's a couple that haven't had a whole lot left, but Shamans did. And you can see here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons that are now free on the beta side. And you know, arguably on the left, you could say you could remove the health stone, and that would be 1 less button. But on retail, I need to make a note here. I actually do not have 2 abilities even on my action bar because I don't have space for them, and that is lightning and chain lightning. So technically on the retail side, I could use 2 more hotkeys, but I just don't really have the bandwidth to install anymore. So I've been without lightning and chain lightning. So on the beta side, you can see I do have lightning in the top right, but this had a major shift, and I have played with it in dungeons healing, and it's okay. It's okay. I still have kind of mixed feelings. I am missing a few abilities that I really would like to have back, but overall, it is what it is. It's simpler, and honestly, on the Shaman, I do welcome being able to actually have enough space now for all of my keybinds to fit on my action bar. And I know some people are kind of upset with having like less abilities and this more of a simplification, but like just count it out here. I mean, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. Like I have 26 keybinds right off the rip. And if I need more than that for a boss encounter or just kind of in general, I feel like that is just too excessive. That's my own personal opinion though. So overall, this kind of gives you an idea of like some of the simplifications going on in classes that are having their abilities taken away. So if you've been on the beta, what are your thoughts on that if you have checked out your class in terms of less buttons? Are you finding it more enjoyable, especially if it was like a rework? All right, so next we'll talk about the nameplates, and I'm actually kind of okay with the nameplates additions that they've made. The first week of beta, it was bugged. So when they did stacked nameplates, which it currently is in, these would actually like shoot all over the place for a really big pool and just completely obscure your screen. But they have fixed that now. So the nameplates actually do work pretty well, and they distribute pretty well as well, like in very high density areas. Of course, there's not a whole lot of people here right now, but it's all the kind of normal stuff that you would expect to see once you throw up your buffs. Everything here is pretty easy to see. I like them. you know, I've played around with like some of the sizes. I've made them bigger. I've made them smaller. The important casts are also still, they're okay. It's just taking a little bit of getting used to, honestly. But these do remind me of Plater with the appearance and everything. So I think so far with what they've done with it, it looks pretty good. And I don't really have any complaints. My biggest complaint was that in terms of, you know, the stacking, but they actually just fixed that. So yeah, I mean, I still wish there was kind of like a little extra tweaks that we could do. For instance, like when dots or like our debuffs, if it's something we can reapply, like it would get bigger as the timer gets lower, or just like a little bit bigger just to bring extra awareness to it. Little tiny stuff like that. I don't know if they ever plan to implement something like that, but you know, just kind of nitpicking. From what I've seen so far in the dungeon and everything, it does suffice. And I don't want to get too far off talking about dungeons, but I will say in the dungeons that I've run, it seems like there are less caster mobs, or if there are caster mobs, it doesn't seem like it's so many spells that are interruptible now. It only seems like there's like 1 or maybe 2 spells that are worth interrupting, and that's kind of it. So overall, I mean, nameplate-wise, it works. It works. You can make it bigger. You can see it easier. It shows you the spell. It shows you the spell icon, and it also shows you who it's targeting. So as of right now, I mean, I don't really have any complaints for it. All right, next let's talk about the Cooldown Manager, and I think this is probably the biggest area that Blizzard really needs to focus on. If you've seen my videos, you know I am a huge fan of the Luxthos Weak Aura. That is what I use as my HUD. That's why my action bars are all the way down the bottom here and smaller, because I don't look at those. This is what I look at. So I've tried to set it up pretty much the exact same way that my Luxthos Weak Auras is, and I'll throw a picture up there just so you can see the comparison. And it works pretty well like that. The timers over here, they've finally gotten those kind of straight. There's a couple bugs on some classes. My Resto Shaman has a bug with one of the totems. When it procs, it removes the timer completely. And I've reported that, but overall, I mean, you can see here, once you drop stuff, it starts, you know, it just starts going, shows you the time limits of what's left with it. It works great for blood DKs. And you can see down here, it's got all of your numbers. It shows you your cooldowns, how long you have to wait. So it shows you when things are active, like AMS is active now, and it's active. It's got the timer. It shows it. It's great. And then it shows the cooldown. So overall, this is like a huge fucking win. Okay, this is a huge win. And, you know, honestly, if you use Weak Auras as a HUD, which I feel like most people do, you're gonna be able to play around with this and be impressed with what you can do with it. I think, you know, yes, it's not anything close to like what Weak Auras is capable of, but in terms of what the game currently is, it works great. And I'm saying that in the way of like running the dungeons that I've run. This is completely manageable, and it feels right at home for me. I have really no complaints about it, other than just being able to maybe have a little more control over like when I crunch this in a little bit more. Like how the icons fall and stuff. But I mean, you can literally move everything around that you want. You can shift things and put them, you know, you have like all of your buffs are here, for instance, and then you can assign it to either the tracked buffs, which pops up here, or right here, or it can turn it into a bar. So overall, this is a huge improvement. If you've messed around with it in retail at all, it is a night and day difference. Cannot stress that enough. So if you're trying out the Cooldown Manager currently in retail and you don't like it, I 100% understand. I don't like it either, but this is a completely different tool in the beta. So huge win for the Blizzard on this. All right, now let's talk about the boss timers. If you use DBM, you're going to have a rude awakening. If you use bigwigs, you are going to be perfectly fine. I love it. I have zero complaints. Not true. I do have a complaint, and that is I don't mind the scroll bar, but I do prefer actual bars that just deplete, where the icon just sits still and the bar depletes. So that is my only complaint. Bigwigs add-on is going to allow that in Midnight, so bars will still be used. But Blizzard did a great job with it. It's very clean, very easy to see. You can change it too. So if Like, it has a lot of customization options. So you can change it only to show abilities that are impactful to your role. Like, so if you're a DPS, like, you obviously don't need to know about the tank mechanic that's coming up, right? So that will not pop up on your boss timeline. Same thing as like as for like a healer and things like that. It's huge. The alerts as well they're very alerty, but they don't tell you what to do. They just tell you that you're targeted with something. And that's huge. I'm a huge fan of this. I think it looks great, and it's exactly what the game's needed. And like I said, if you played with DBM, you might have a rude awakening because it's not going to tell you to move or run or jump or whatever. It's not going to tell you any of that. It just tells you that you're targeted with this ability, and you have to know what you're targeted with and how to handle it. So, and I will speak on visual cues too. I've noticed this on all of the new dungeons. The bosses in those dungeons, all of their abilities are very well telegraphed. It's pretty easy to tell, like, okay, this is a large frontal cone. I don't need to stand here. I need to move. This circle, oh, this is a soak circle. I know I have to stand in this. This circle I need to stay away from. And there is a time difference. So, and what I mean by that is, like, it actually feels like a time difference. So it feels like you have a little bit more time to react to a boss's abilities than you do in retail. And this is obviously the beta. So I hope they stick with it. It's very, very comfortable. So the attacks feel punishing, but at the end of the day, like, you have a good amount of time to move out of the way of things. So the boss timers is a huge, huge win. And I like the customization aspect of it. All right, but finally, we need to talk about the Raidframes. And as a healer, this is probably my biggest area of concern. As of right now, I don't have a huge issue with the Raidframes. I wish we could customize them a little bit more. Customization is very, very limited. And of course, this is only for 5-mans. This does not include raids because we don't have access to those. In 5-mans, it's completely manageable, to keep track of everything that's going on, all the buffs, debuffs, etc. I think the Raidframes are in a great spot. But again, this is not including raids. This is a 5-man party. The external cooldowns as well. That's a nice ability. That way you can see when a player has popped one of their defensives. Yeah, I mean, dude, like, just overall honest thoughts about it is this is huge. This is a great shift for the game, and I'm excited to try out the raids. 5-mans, the new dungeons are really cool, and nothing seems too chaotic at this point. So pulls can go, you can pull quite a few big mobs right now, and the nameplates aren't taking up the whole screen real estate. It's very easy to it's pretty easy to see which spells are the most important. That's just more of like an adjustment thing, because you have to get used to the new graphic. But it's you can tell who needs to be interrupted. You can tell who's being targeted. Yeah, I mean, honest thoughts, man. It's shaping up to be really, really good. I'm super stoked to try out a raid and just to see what it's like in that type of big player setting. But if you guys are playing the beta, let me know what your thoughts are. If you've checked out your class, if you haven't checked out your class, if you're not playing the beta, I still highly recommend that you check out the patch notes just to see all of the abilities that are being changed around. So before I even jumped into the beta, that was one of the first things I was doing, is keeping track of the alpha notes for all the class abilities. And literally, once I got into the game, I'm like, wow, this is kind of a big change. It's kind of a big change. So far, all the changes are great, in my opinion. Little tiny nitpicky things, but I mean, overall, it's fucking amazing. So if you're playing, let me know your thoughts. But that's it. So thank you. Shout out to the channel members. And for those of you popping in on the live streams and stuff, love all the support that I'm getting. And we'll keep them coming, guys. We'll keep them coming. More's coming. I'll see you in the next one.